Hello and welcome, Columbians. I'm so excited to join you today as we officially kick off Countdown to Columbia. I'm Kamala Kayam, your new Dean of Undergraduate Student Life. You can call me Dean K. And like many of you, I'm also new to Columbia. So we're actually beginning this journey side by side. As new and incoming students, you're about to join a campus full of ideas, passion, and people who will push you, support you, and help you grow. You're entering a community where your voice matters, where being yourself is part of what makes this place so special. Starting something new can feel overwhelming, especially when you're not sure of what to expect. I get it. I too am navigating new hallways, learning new names, and finding my rhythm as well. But here's the good news. You don't have to figure it out alone, nor should you. Columbia has a whole network of people, faculty, staff, and students ready to welcome you, guide you, and cheer you on. This webinar is just the beginning. In the weeks ahead, you'll get the chance to connect, ask questions, and get ready for the fall. So lean into the countdown, take it one step at a time, and know that this community, all of us here, are already yours. I really can't wait to meet you soon in person. Welcome to Columbia. It's my pleasure to now pass it off to the amazing team you're about to meet, starting with Nestor Hernandez, Jr.
Good morning, everyone. I would just like to start off with congratulations. We are so excited to welcome you all to the Columbia community. My name is Nestor Hernandez. I am an assistant director within undergraduate student life, student engagement, and I primarily will be working on the new student orientation staff. So you'll probably see me answering a few of your questions in the coming weeks, but I will send it over to Nina Lamb.
Everyone, my name is Nina Lamb. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an associate director of student engagement. I work on the same team as Nestor. I work with student clubs during the year and student club advising. And during the summer, I work on orientation programming as well, helping oversee all of the planning on the staff and student side. And I'll pass it off to Joanne Neal.
Hi, I am Joanne Neal. I'm the administrative coordinator in student and family support. And we answer the phone in our office. And if you don't know where to go for a question, call us and we'll direct you to the correct person. It might be somebody in our office that deals with wellness or integrity. But the best thing about our office is that we will always answer the phone. So we'll connect you. We know all the resources and all the places to go, and we're happy to help you. I am the parent of 3 college graduates, and so I can relate to any concerns going on. Yeah, I hope to speak to you in the Student and Family Support Office. I'm going to pass you off, but I actually don't have the script in front of me. Who am I passing off to?
I think that's me, Joanne. So
okay,
I'll go.
Good. I'll pass it off to Victoria Mullaney Brown.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Columbia, our new students and families. My name is Dr. Victoria Mullaney Brown. My pronouns are she, hers, and I'm the Director of Academic Integrity inside of the Student and Family Support Team. I oversee academic integrity initiatives, programming, orientation, workshops, Integrity Week, which you'll learn about, which happens every spring, the management of educational integrity cases, and my office is part of a larger team to support you as students and parents. As students, I work with you directly one-on-one to help you learn from making any academic mistakes, encourage you to reach out to our many campus resources, and I focus collectively with you on creating action plans for your student success. So don't hesitate to reach out. I will also drop in the chat my email, and be in touch with us, and don't be afraid to ask for help. I'm going to pass it off to my colleague, Nefertia Tyner.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Nefertia Tyner. I'm the Associate Director of Student Wellness within the Office of Student and Family Support. So I work with Joanne, Victoria, and our other colleague, Stephanie King. So part of my role is to help support students who are navigating various challenges, help them get connected to campus resources. And we also work a lot with parents and families. If you all have any questions or concerns, like Joanne and Victoria mentioned, more than welcome to reach out to our office and we can help support. And I'll pass it off to Jessica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Zaman. I'm an assistant dean in the Center for Student Advising. So Each of the incoming students is going to be assigned a dean in my office, will be a personal point person for them to help them navigate academics and to connect with other support and resources across campus, and that's throughout their entire time at Columbia. And I'm going to pass it back to Ross.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ross Mueller. I'm the Director of Communications for Columbia College and Columbia Engineering for incoming students. And my team runs the Countdown to Columbia program from a communications perspective. So you'll be getting a flurry of emails from us over the next coming months, both introducing all of these webinars and detailing a lot of the compliance steps that you have in the next couple months before you arrive on campus at the end of August. One thing I do want to flag is that there was some issues with the login process for the Countdown to Columbia website. Those have been solved. So everyone should, all of the incoming students should be able to go into the Countdown to Columbia website. You can find it in your email that you got on Monday, and you'll be able to log in and find your unique tracking checklist in the days ahead. So now I will turn it over to Nestor, who's going to give us a rundown of the undergraduate student life team and its various offices to get us started.
So as I mentioned earlier, I work within undergraduate student life, within specifically student engagement, and I just wanted to give you all a very brief overview of undergraduate student life. So within undergraduate student life, the goal is to foster a welcoming and inclusive environment by supporting undergraduate students in the development of skills, self-awareness, and other tools needed to properly engage with the community at Columbia, but also beyond that. And like I said, I'm going to give a very brief overview, and in the coming weeks, you'll start learning a little bit more about each specific area, but at least this will be a quick intro. So starting with residential life. Residential life will be your kind of go-to place for building community within your new home. As you all know, like, you're going to be coming to campus. This will be your familiar place moving forward. So you'll have the support of professional staff and student staff that will be in the residence hall to assist you with your transition onto campus. Multicultural Affairs is here to support our undergraduate students by fostering a community where diverse identities are not only recognized, but celebrated. We offer resources that promote personal growth through identity development, mentorship, advocacy, and social justice education, just to name a couple. And then last but not least, student engagement, which is the team that I am on. Student engagement focuses on providing students with the opportunity for involvement on in-campus life. So we're talking student clubs, councils, community programs, as well as new student orientation program, which is why we're here. And here, I just want to give you guys some insight of where you can get in contact with folks. So we have UGrad Student Life at columbia.edu. And then you can reach out for anything that is specific to orientation or new student orientation programs. You can reach out to orientation@columbia.edu. And then on social media, you can follow us on Instagram at ColumbiaUSL. And I will now pass it off to Nina, who will run the show moving forward and introduce our wonderful new student orientation committee members.
We will go ahead and get started with introductions for our student panelists. If students, if you want to begin with introduction, that includes your name, pronouns, school, year, major, and then your involvement with new student orientation this year. And then if you want to share a little bit about what you felt while preparing for Columbia during the summer before your first year, and how you began to find community on campus as you entered. And Eric, I'll start with you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eric. My pronouns are he, him. I am part of Columbia Engineering's class of 2026. I'm a senior. I study computer science. I am the communications and media coordinator for NSOP. And the summer before my first year, I was honestly a bit of mix of nervous and excited. It felt so surreal coming to Columbia, and I spent a lot of time scrolling through Reddit GroupMe's and saw pages trying to figure out what to expect. And it was kind of like a little bit overwhelming, but I feel like what helped me find community was like showing up to like orientation events, and everything seemed fine afterwards. So just take it one day at a time.
Hi, my name is Tatiana. Pronouns are she, her. I'm also in C's class of 2028, and my major is also computer science. And I am the care coordinator for this year's NSOP program, which is our community action, responsibility, and engagement program. And in the summer leading up to coming to Columbia, I was also a bit nervous, but I think it's a really exciting feeling. Um, and a way that I was able to kind of ease into the community is really just being open. You'll have a lot of resources and people who are there for you, and it's a really exciting time. So be ready for that.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm in Columbia College studying English and education. And I'm also the class of 2028. And for our new student orientation program, I am our identity-based programming coordinator. I think like coming into Columbia, especially over the summer, I was very excited. I had a lot of anticipation, but I was also going through like a lot of cabin fever at home and I was getting really cooped up and I just wanted to like get to campus and start exploring. And I had been like DMing people. So I think that anticipation really led me to like give everything that I had to our orientation program. And that's like where I met a lot of my first friends on campus. And I think just going into it optimistically really helped me blossom, I guess, first semester.
Hi everyone, my name is Tyler. My pronouns are she, her. I am in Columbia College studying medical humanities on a pre-medical path, and I'm in class of 2027. In NSOP, I'm the Explore NYC coordinator, and similar to what my peers have already mentioned, it was a mixture of like excitement, but also filled with this anticipation about what to expect at going to college, but also just being away from home for the first time. And so one of the ways like I navigated that was going on like Instagram pages, looking up like what students do on campus and via there finding other incoming first years as well as organizations and what they do during the school year. So that was one of the ways that really helped ease my nerves.
Amazing. Thank you all. It's wonderful to hear about your experiences. Obviously, you know, there are so many different experiences folks have, which is a great segue into our next question, which is, you know, we pride ourselves on the diversity of our community and our location in New York City. And as you know, we attract students from literally all over the world, and we encourage connections across both similarities and differences. Can a few of you reflect on lessons you might have learned as you transitioned into Columbia and New York City, given where you came from and sort of what your background was? And I think, Tatiana, we can start with you.
Sure. Yeah. So originally, I'm from a really small town on the central coast of California. And I was a bit nervous to move to a city that is that has such a large population and really is just a high pace environment. Um, and so I feel like when anticipating that there's going to be a lot going on, it's easy to kind of get overwhelmed and um, think that there's certain like a right way for you to do things initially. But what I learned is that the process of moving to a new place or just joining a new community is really there's kind of beauty in the uncertainty, and that it's going to be a valuable experience to get to know the community around you, even if it's different.
My educational journey took place in quite like homogenous environments. I'm from Florida originally, but a very small town similar to Tatiana. Everything closes at 8 p.m. So quite different from New York. So the transition was quite stark. But I really utilized the opportunity of being in Columbia and being in such a diverse New York space to learn more about different cultures and backgrounds. So whether that's like events being hosted on campus, we have a plethora of student groups from every like corner of the world in terms of just like performances or music or just different cuisines, and utilizing the resources in New York as a whole has been amazing. And I think being in such a diverse environment, that was like one of the pillars that really drove me to study abroad by the end of my freshman year during that summer and just continue that learning process.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing those experiences. And I think this honestly leads well into our next question as well, which is about, sort of once you get to campus, Columbia students are said to be very involved and engaged in both academic and student life. With so much available to be involved in, it becomes a little bit overwhelming trying to decide what to engage in. So thinking about the academic rigor of being a Columbia student, can you share a little bit about your experience with being academically challenged while also being involved in the community? And what are some things you do for yourself and for self-care to maintain a balance of academic and student life? And then Eric, I think you may want to answer this.
Yeah, of course. So, um, going to Columbia, you'll find that it's filled with like remarkably talented and driven people. And while that environment can be incredibly inspiring, it also challenged me to figure out how to thrive without burning out. My first year, I definitely struggled with finding that balance between academics and involvement. I was eager to be part of everything. Like I'd sign up for clubs, go to events, take on new responsibilities, and then suddenly midterms would hit and I would feel completely overwhelmed. I think what helped me like throughout this whole thing was learning how to say no without guilt and really focusing on quality over quantity. I started blocking off time for rest, especially on Sundays, and treating that downtime just as important as like my class schedule. I also found it helpful to get involved in things that recharged me rather than drained me. For that, that was like NSOP, photography, going to the gym, doing martial arts. And that gave me like a sense of connection and purpose, even when like academics at times felt really, really intense. I also leaned on my community, like having friends who could relate, share study tips, or just hang out made a really huge difference. It reminded me that balance doesn't mean doing everything. It means doing what matters in a more sustainable way.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then Tatiana, you wanted to share as well?
Yes, definitely. I totally agree with Eric's answer. And initially during my first semester, I was also really eager to join a lot of clubs and really explore all of the options. But then again, it can feel like there's maybe too many options, or you're not exactly sure um, what programs or what communities are a good fit for you. And what I would say to that is it's honestly really just a learning process. And I would say coming into Columbia, you don't need to necessarily know exactly how this balance is going to look for you. It's more of something that you find along the way. But for me, um, I was able to find community, especially in terms of academics, with my classmates who were in a lot of the same intro classes as me. And also, even when utilizing like help resources for my classes, I was able to meet a lot of the same students and also TAs over and over who became friends to me and also a support system. And then I would say, like Eric said, making time for yourself to actually do things that you enjoy is really just as important as your academic pursuits. So for me, that looked like eventually joining the club tennis team. It was really fun to kind of meet new people and also just have a time at the end of the day to go play with friends and de-stress. So it looks different for everyone, but I'm sure that you all will get a chance to explore those options.
Amazing. That sounds like a lot of fun. All right, love it. I think another aspect of Columbia life that we hear a lot about is that students often come to Columbia wanting to immediately start working on their resume, and maybe students need or want to work or hold internships. This doesn't have to be a priority as you enter Columbia, but we know there's a diversity of experiences and all students sort of forge their own path in that way. So in that vein, can a few of you speak about your experiences with jobs and internships on campus, and what was something you maybe wish you knew earlier on? Hannah, if you want to start with this one.
Yeah. So Columbia partners with Handshake, which is like an app or a website where companies can post internship opportunities or job opportunities that aren't always necessarily directed at students, but a good portion of them are, and a good portion of them are directed at Columbia students specifically. And I was originally very invested in my Handshake profile and all of my various applications, and like I don't think I heard back from a single one of them. I think the only one that I ended up hearing back from and interviewing for was through a collection of jobs on Handshake that were specifically through the Columbia's Center for Career Education. We have a program called CCE Internships Plus, and those companies will designate spots in their internship programs specifically for Columbia students. And the Center for Career Education will then work with you and help you put together your resume and do interview prep and all these things. So it really supports your application process in a way that you might not if you were just applying to an internship that wasn't part of that program. So that was a great first environment for me to be in. My position was as a literacy tutor. So like it wasn't insane. I wasn't curing cancer or anything. This was more just like I wanted to explore this world of teaching, especially in New York City, rather than like a really rigorous personal development process. I applied in November, I started in January, and then I ended in April. So even though it felt like I was doing it the whole semester, it isn't that long of an internship period for the CCC internships program specifically. But so far, this is the only thing that I've applied to through Handshake that I've actually heard back from. But you find other ways to stay busy and to hear about other internship opportunities. And I think something that I wish I knew earlier on is that like when you see people who have stuff lined up from day one, 90% of the time it's something they did in high school that they're continuing to do through college, or it's something that they got through a connection of their family or their parents or something like that. And that comparison is a thief of joy. And I also think like a big thing is even though these websites, like specifically like LinkedIn and Indeed and Handshake are all targeted and advertised as ways that you can get an internship, like the way that you're actually going to find the positions or the opportunities that really align with you is through word of mouth, like specifically your friends or your teachers or your mentee or your mentors. Because those are the people that know you and know specifically like what internships are out there that are maybe more niche than the things that are popping up on these websites. So yeah, ask around in your immediate circle, not only online.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that the people around you are great resources and there's a wealth of them at Columbia, 100%. And then Tyler, did you want to talk about this as well?
Yes, absolutely. I think internships and just job opportunities look different for everyone on campus. I'm a pre-med student, as I mentioned earlier, so there's a large stigma with regard to the pre-med community about getting clinical experiences in early research experience, shadowing. And so I think just the litany of those things on top of focusing on academics, focusing on building a community was a lot and was really overwhelming. At the end of my freshman year, I didn't have a research position. I didn't have any internships that were like external to any like campus organizations that I was working with. And so I felt like I was behind and that made me really worried. However, speaking with a lot of like upperclassmen students, I realized that this situation was not uncommon at all. Like everyone doesn't come in the first day with like a lab position and ready to hit the ground running. And so I felt that having that connection with upperclassmen students really helped me navigate opportunities on campus. And one of the biggest things I also realized is that the opportunities I had about making connections within clubs or just student groups on campus are just as valuable, and learning skills and how to build those like leadership positions within those groups was amazing. And I think that really helped me my sophomore year and as I go into my junior year with getting opportunities that I felt that I didn't have beforehand, but little did I know those were all helping me build up to where I am now. And so one of the biggest resources I would say, similar to what Hannah mentioned and touched on, is really just talking to other students. Upperclassmen students are a wealth of knowledge and they are more than happy to share their experiences. And so when you ever feel like you're isolated or alone or you're the only person that doesn't have an opportunity aligned, you definitely are not alone. We've all gone through that in some shape or form. We've gone through the rejections, we've gone through the three directions. And so we're more than happy to just share our experiences with you and just be that pillar of support that you can lean on.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, you know, there are so many, you all on the committee are great resources. All the new students will meet their orientation leaders and crew captains, a lot of student leaders who are on campus, also who are already here to be resources and who want to talk about their experiences and share their knowledge with all of you. So that's wonderful. Okay, great. And so then before we hear questions from the audience, I would love to ask each of you to share a piece of advice, something you wish you had known before you arrived on campus, that's been helpful to you. And I will start with Eric.
Piece of advice is that you're young and you're going to make mistakes. And mistakes are like totally okay. Like you're more often than not, they're gonna happen and that's completely okay. But not learning from your mistakes is not okay. Just cut yourself some slack as you navigate your academic career here and like just relax and take things one day at a time.
Yeah, I can give another piece of advice following that. I also agree with the fact that it's really important to give yourself some slack and just um, be mindful of the fact that you are really navigating a whole new environment. And um, the most important thing for me is really just anticipating that there's going to be change in some level of uncertainty. So even if you think you're really on top of planning or um, you think that in your mind you have a picture of how your year is going to go, there is it's highly likely that some things will not go as planned or you'll face some experiences that are really just things that you couldn't have predicted. So I would say just be okay with that and understand that it takes time to find community, your schedule, and your people, even if it's not on the timeline that you anticipated originally.
My advice is to care about things like so much. If you put an energy or if you put an effort, you will get more out of everything that you do. NSOP, our orientation program, is as helpful and transformative as you make it. The same thing goes with your classes and your friends and your clubs. Like, even if it feels kind of scary or embarrassing, to feel like you care more than everybody else, it's worth it. And also, even though New York City is incredibly sick and awesome, don't forget to take advantage of all the stuff that's happening on campus. Like there are so many events and resources and performances that are like uniquely affordable and accessible and still part of the city culture, but you just get access to it just for being a student here.
Yeah, I'll share my piece of advice. Um, Everyone on campus, regardless of their year, is still learning how to navigate the college process. Like we are still learning day by day, year by year. And so I would say that there's always someone who's open to sharing their experiences. I've had really meaningful talks in like dining halls or waiting in line for getting merch at one of the like campus events. And so you just hear you hear different stories, you get different experiences, and I think that's like one of the most beautiful things about Columbia and just college in general. And so everyone is a medium of support in some way, shape, or form. And so never be afraid to ask questions and just utilize the people around you because we're all a big community.
Absolutely. That is all really great advice. Thank you all. Thank you to all of our student panelists for their words of wisdom on this morning and sharing their experiences at Columbia so far. We are now going to transition into our Q&A section. And so I believe our staff will be coming back on and helping to answer some of those questions. And I will pass it over to Ross to start things off.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We've had some awesome questions that have come through the Q&A so far. A lot of them have been answered, but there have been sort of some general themes. I'll knock off a couple things right off the top before we dive into some of the larger topics that have come around. The first is any questions relating to housing or room assignment processes. I would recommend, if it's logistics-based, you can go to the housing website, which is housing.columbia.edu. And there is a host of information about all of the different communities, whether you're a first-year student, a transfer student, a 3-2 combined plan, any of them, and all of the different logistic elements of their check-in and move-in processes are all outlined very specifically on that website. You can also go and find the link to the housing portal, which will have information about your bag drop assignment and any of those things. There's also some questions about anyone who hasn't received a housing assignment. You don't need to worry, you are going to get a housing assignment. It's just a matter of them finishing out the various different moving pieces of their process. But if you have any questions, you can always email them at housing@columbia.edu, and they'll be responsive to any questions that you have. The other thing I would note is that there are a whole host of topics that are going to be covered throughout the summer in the coming weeks in webinars like this, whether they're related to international students, students with financial aid questions, logistics about billing, Columbia Health, the insurance plan. If you go to the Countdown to Columbia website, which both students can log into, but families can also enter without a login and review all of the information on the site, you'll see a whole list of upcoming webinars that we encourage you to sign up for all that you think are of interest to you. And you'll have an opportunity to sort of get the information directly from subject matter experts over the coming weeks. The other thing I will note is that we'll be reaching out to you with all of the compliance steps as we get closer to your arrival that are the really important things that you need to pay attention to. But the good news is that you've got the rest of the month of July to work through a lot of those steps and work through the checklist that's outlined on that website to figure out some of the things that you need. So that's where I'll sort of start on that front. The other piece is that the chat specific question and answer thread from this session won't necessarily be available. The recording will be, and I can tell you that almost all of the answers, including contact information, different offices, are all available on the Countdown to Columbia website. And if you don't see them there, you can always email orientation@columbia.edu with any specific questions you have that need follow-up. So having gotten all of that out, Nestor, there was one question sort of, and I think this would be helpful just to give people an overview who don't know what's coming for them, explaining a bit about what will occur during the gap of time between when students move in and then when they start classes.
Yeah, so much will be happening. It'll be pretty difficult for me to like narrow it down, but it'll be a lot of events geared towards helping you transition to campus, mixers, info sessions, along with events being planned within the residence hall so you can start meeting folks that you'll be living near, meetings with your orientation leaders, you'll be meeting other new students. So it'll be very geared towards starting to build that community with the other folks that are transitioning to campus, as well as upperclassmen that are here to help you with that transition. There will be more information in terms of specific details that will be coming out in the next couple weeks. But for now, I will say that there will be a lot happening and some things are still in flux, so I don't want to give specifics, but if there are any specific questions or concerns around scheduling, please feel free to reach out to orientation@columbia.edu. And Nina, I don't know if there's anything else that you would want to add on, but yeah.
I think that covers it. Orientation is a lot of fun. It's busy. It can be long. It's really exciting. There's a lot of students here who want to help you transition and who are super excited for you to arrive, as are all the staff.
Then next we have a question about sort of some of the challenge. It was specific to transfer students and sophomores and juniors coming in, but I think it's germane to the whole population. What are some of the most sort of new and surprising things for people coming into New York City for the first time and adapting to the sort of Columbia academic environment? Just sort of students, staff, anyone, feel free to open it up. But I think sort of what were some of the things? Was it adapting to sort of living in the city? Was it adapting to the pace and of the core curriculum and how that all functions? So if anybody wants to start chiming in across the board, feel free to go for it.
So I would say the first couple of weeks of being here, again, I did allude to being from a smaller town. It was very quiet, and so I wasn't used to nightly noise, and so I think that was one of the biggest adjustments for me with regard to being in the city. But I would say that around Columbia, we don't have as much of the fast New York pace lifestyle, I would say. As you go further downtown, that's where you get your stereotypical like hustle and bustle of New York. So it's nice to have that separation from being on campus and then going downtown or uptown and seeing the differences in the lifestyle. With regard to like the core curriculum system, I'm still navigating it right now. However, I would say it was quite similar to some of the studies that I did in school. I was an international baccalaureate student. So in terms of like the books that transcend different generations and different topics, I found a lot of comfort in continuing that learning process, but it was also really nice to hear about the experiences of like my classmates and their perspectives that they brought into class. I think that's one of my favorite parts about the core curriculum is that you have students who are studying different topics or majors and the perspectives that they bring into class discussions. The classes are very small, and so you build a lot of connections and relationships through there. So yeah, just touching on, I guess, both of those aspects. But I would say overall, definitely have been enjoying it so far.
I want to second the nightly noise. I lived in Wallach my first year, and um, I was along Amsterdam, and so I was right across from Mount Sinai. So I fell asleep every night to this really wonderful lullaby of sirens and honking, and that was just not something that I was used to growing up. Um, I would also say another thing that it took me a while to get used to first semester was this like feeling of energy or pressure. Whenever I was staying in or trying to do nothing, you would always know that someone else was going out and doing something. And I struggled with that because to me, I felt like, why am I not engaging with my like the city and like taking advantage of this location as well as everybody else? Like why doing nothing felt a lot more stressful here than it did at home. And I don't think that's like a universal experience, but I think it took me a while to recognize that that was the stress that I was feeling. And like after identifying it, it did make it a lot easier because I putting it into words, I think it sounds a little bit ridiculous. Like, why am I not giving myself the space to relax and to do nothing if I need to be recharging? But that initial couple of months, I would be in my dorm and I would either hear people out on the street, like in their friend groups talking and laughing, or I'd be going to the dining hall and I would see people like going out, getting all dressed up, and it would feel just a little bit off and I couldn't exactly put my finger on it. But once I knew it was just this arbitrary like FOMO, I think it helped to be more like secure in my own habits and my own routines and knowing that like I was doing what I needed to do to succeed in my classes and to take care of my mental health and to prioritize sleep and things like that. Yeah.
All right, great. So we'll sort of keep moving along here. Another question that came in about how do internships work if they're done over the summer, housing, support, various different pieces. One of the things that I would say is that there is a lot of these things are dependent on individual student circumstances. So it's going to depend on, you know, the individual, you know, aspects of whether you're on financial aid or what type of internship we're talking about. But there is a host of information on the Center for Career Education website that others have mentioned. Then you can find links to that on the Countdown website. And then also it's sort of aligned with other questions about working on campus for first-year students. For that, I would recommend that you attend the financial aid session that is going to be happening on next Tuesday, the 15th, where they'll cover some of the information about work-study programs and available jobs on campus. And that information is also available on the financial aid website as well, which again, all of the links to all of these various different things encourage you to explore on the Countdown to Columbia website. So does anybody else staff-wise have anything that they want to touch in about internships, you know, additional support for students for various different things like that?
I'll just mention, so hi everybody, I'm Victoria from Student Family Support. I think it's important if any of you are coming into Columbia with what's called an IEP, an individualized education plan from high school, or a 504, that you really do register with the Office of Disability Services. And I encourage you to do so because you can get support for academics. I think the biggest thing we see for students who are struggling, you might have experienced anxiety, depression, ADHD, a combination of diagnosed mental health disorders, or just, things that you have in your life. And those things are important to be supported, especially as you enter into a new community like ours. We encourage you to seek support, and that doesn't automatically happen. So you'll need to fill out the registration form and provide your medical treatment provider's information. The same goes for any allergies. I've had a couple of conversations with parents about particular allergies their student might be facing and how that impacts their ability to be safe here. So make sure that you contact the Office of Disability Services about those types of health related concerns. And a lot of the information, I think we also want to drop in the chat. The Live Well, Learn Well website is a great condensed resource where you can find by topical area the campus support resources related to health, financial, and many other types of topics. And no one brought up generative AI. And I think just because I have the mic for a second, that's really a volatile topic here in some ways. I just want to caution you that you'll learn more about it on Monday when I release the academic integrity module, which is set expectations for everybody about incoming students, all of you from 3-2 programs, those who have been in college already and are transferring to Columbia. It's really to help you understand the set expectations to help you succeed academically. So generative AI right now, our policy is it's not allowed to be used unless your professor gives you permission. So that is an important thing to note, and just want you to think about that more, and you can always reach out to me if you have other questions. But I wanted to touch on those two subjects related to disability because I think that's really, really important, and then also generative AI.
Awesome. One other question, this is sort of a good question for students that just wanted to go around the horn while some of the staff dive into the Q&A block, is what is something you found really useful to have in your dorm room that you didn't think you would need when you were arriving on campus?
I'm looking around my room to see if there's anything that's really standing out. A recent investment was a sunrise lamp because some of the rooms are shafted or they don't get great morning light, and I like it is really crucial, especially if you have an 840 to like simulate that kind of brightness, so you have to get out of bed.
I was gonna say the same thing. I feel like a good lamp is like really important. I'm not a big fan of like harsh white light, which is what like a lot of the dorms have. I like like much warmer light, so I ended up buying a bunch of lamps throughout like my 4 years here. Um, but yeah, I'd say buy a really, really good lamp that you like.
And then another couple questions that have come through. Somebody asking about core curriculum courses. There will be a session for CC students and their academics coming up in the webinar schedule over the course of the summer. And then the week following that, we just confirmed the date. There'll be a whole deep dive into the core curriculum with Larry Jackson, who runs the program. So any questions about the core specifically, look out for that session on the schedule that will be announced in the next couple days. So that'll be a good dive into that for anyone who has questions about it. There were some questions about security on campus. I would recommend that everybody go to the Columbia Public Safety website. There's a huge amount of information about how the current access protocols work for campus. Students are able to register guests in real time. Folks coming onto campus receive a QR code that allows them to enter campus. And for the whole process of families coming on to support their students through move-in weekend, that is something that we'll be managing, and there'll be much more detailed information as that comes out over the course of the summer. The one thing that I would note is that anyone who's planning to support their student for family orientation, take seriously the request that you register in advance for family orientation. Your students will be able to get on campus with their access codes for check-in for their room, but if you're coming, if there's younger siblings, aunts and uncles, whoever's coming to be on campus to support your student coming in, they need to be registered in advance for getting campus access for family orientation weekend. There were also some questions about health services and the insurance plan. Again, there are webinars coming up on both of those topics that'll be in the next few days. So I encourage you to check that schedule and review that as we go. Some questions about jobs on campus and work study. The best source to go out for that would be to reach out to the financial aid office. Again, their info can be found on the Countdown to Columbia website. And then there was another question, and Joanne, I don't know if you guys want to tackle this a little bit about sort of what happens over family orientation throughout the day, and sort of what's the vibe like on Sunday for all of those events that are happening throughout the move-in timeframe.
I can take that one. So on Sunday, there are panel discussions. I believe there might be some tours, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Most of what we cover in those panel discussions is what we're covering during these webinars. And they're all optional. So if your move-in time is noon, you might help your student move in and then go to something afterwards and stick around until convocation. Convocation is at 6:30 and it's great. And afterwards you say goodbye to your student. But there is generally a lecture about the core curriculum, but it's not necessarily information that is critical. It's a way for you to hang out and join us and get a sense of things in between, for instance, moving your child into your dorm. The day is mostly, the most important thing about the day is the move-in. And so the programs surrounding it are, like I said, they're informative, but it's not critical if you miss one, because that's when your students' move-in time is. But we will feed you too, so that's good. Yeah. So.
And then there was a couple questions. Unfortunately, we're just not going to be able to get to everybody's questions as they come through. But if you have specific questions, I would recommend that you get to orientation@columbia.edu with any specific questions that you have coming up. And for everything else, again, I feel like a broken record, but sign up for the webinars that are coming up. You're going to get detailed information on all of these things. And the other piece that I would remind everybody is that we're just at the start of this process. There's a reason we start doing this in July and it extends through August. It's a whole process. No one's expecting anyone to be on top of absolutely everything right away. So feel free to follow along at our pace as we move through things and submit questions as they come through. The other quick question I just wanted to throw out for the group is a couple things that came through about sort of living in the neighborhood and what it's like in Morningside Heights. So I don't know if we want to just go around the horn. I'll get started. What your favorite park is in the neighborhood. There's all sorts of green spaces around. Sometimes people think that they're moving into this giant block of urban New York City and don't realize that there are trees and places to go be outside. So your favorite park in the neighborhood and your favorite place to go grab lunch in Morningside Heights. I'll start. I love Morningside Park. I love getting down the hill and sort of being into this sort of wooded magical land right off campus. You just go down the stairs from Edgecombe and it's a really cool place to poke around and explore. And well, my favorite place was Hamilton Deli, but it closed. So I'm sort of in need of a new deli in the neighborhood. Nina, I don't know if you want to go next.
Sure. Oh goodness. Well, I will say favorite park, if you go uptown a ways, Fort Tryon Park is pretty close to campus and it is where the Met Cloisters are located. It's a beautiful park. You have a beautiful view of the river. It's a great place to walk around. There's lots of hills. It feels a little more, if you want to do a little more like hiking, it feels like that a little bit. And there's a beautiful museum you can attend. And then place to eat. Our office has been in a real Just Salad kick lately. We go to Just Salad a lot. They have lots of fun salads and smoothies and wraps and all kinds of things, cookies and chips and stuff like that. It's a little bit off campus. It's on 111th Street, so it's about a 10-minute walk from campus, and it's a really fun place to go. And I'll pass it to Nestor.
Yeah. I mean, this is gonna be a very stereotypical answer, but my favorite park is Central Park. Just because it's so large that it feels like no matter how many times you've like walked through it, you're always gonna find a new path to go down and a new thing to see. Um, and my favorite lunch spot is honestly, there's a lot of food carts that park on Broadway right outside of the Columbia gates that it's always like you can honestly probably pick a car each day and probably not eat the same thing for probably like 2 months, which is really cool. And they're pretty affordable as well. So that's what I would say. And it's like 2 steps from campus. And I will send it to Eric.
Um, my favorite park is Riverside Park. It's right next to Columbia. I'm dog sitting my best friend's golden retriever for the summer, so I often take her out there. And just like we would just relax, take her out on a walk or on a run. It's so peaceful and then like looking at the water is so nice. Um, and my favorite place to grab lunch is this deli. It's called Gourmet 109 Deli. It's right on Amsterdam. I really like it because the people there are Mexican, so I kind of like feel a little bit at home. And like it's really cheap deli too, amazing food. So Ross, if you need a new deli to check out, Gourmet Deli on Amsterdam. And I'll pass it over to Hannah.
I'm gonna echo Riverside Park. It is so beautiful, and I love going there in the evening because it faces west. Like you're on campus, you just go west until you hit the park. And so you can watch the sunset and through the trees. It's so beautiful, especially in the summer. We get these really vibrant, like bright red sunsets, and it's just so beautiful. So I love Riverside Park. And my favorite place to grab lunch is Roti Roll because they're cheap and they're so fast and they're really nice to me. So I just feel like what more could you want out of your lunch spot? And I'll pass it to Tatiana.
Okay, I'm also going to have to say Riverside Park. Um, Not only is it really pretty in the summer, but also in the winter when it's snowy, I think it's beautiful. And I think it's a great spot to run. So I find myself running there quite a lot. And then for lunch, I would say I'm a big fan of grabbing a quick slice of pizza. And there's a good couple of spots that are really close. One is called Familia. I like that one. But yeah, there's a couple good spots.
I think my favorite park is probably Sakura Park. It's like adjacent to Riverside Park, but it's very nice in the spring with all the cherry blossoms, very beautiful. And in terms of my favorite spot to eat, I'm a big like foodie in terms of just like trying new places. So sometimes I'll venture near like 125th. There's a lot of like Latin restaurants, African food, Caribbean food. So just trying out something new every time, which is great.
All right. So I think that's it. We're just about at the end of time. So thanks to everybody for jumping in to this session. There will be many more to come. Keep an eye on your emails. Newsletters will be coming out weekly on Mondays. Students will be receiving those directly, and families will also be receiving a copy of those in real time with some special call outs for any information that they'll need to know. Later in the summer, you'll start getting emails from us on Wednesdays with specific reminders about compliance steps that are coming up. And please pay attention to those because some of the consequences for not being on top of those compliance steps involve not being able to move in on time and delayed with registration. So the things that we call out we're calling them out for a reason. So just please take those seriously and be on top of it. And we look forward to seeing you on these sessions throughout the summer.